This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the draft season. We have been pushing closer and closer into the part of the season that actually matters, right? Like you're actually getting close to picks being made. And I wanted to bring on today a guest that you guys are very familiar with, draft expert Corey Kinnon, to help us talk about the draft. We have a litany of things that we're going to discuss today. But Corey, how have you been, man?
Tired, dude. I'm tired. It's that time of year where I'm just trying, it's like drinking out of a fire hose, right? Just trying to get everything done before the draft. But it's all good stuff. It's all a lot of fun. I'm happy to be here, man.
Awesome. Make sure you guys check out Corey's work. I hear rumor of you working on a draft guide again this year, right? Are those rumors correct? Can we confirm those rumors?
Those rumors are correct. Yeah, 200 scouting reports, positional rankings. Trying to drop that the Monday before the draft. My plan is to drop it the Monday before the draft and run a week-long, 20% off special on annual subscriptions on my site. So, you can get in at a discount and get the draft guide. That's the goal. I hope it works out well. But we're 2 years off. My kids are really young, so my kids are old enough. I was able to get back into a draft guide this year. Wrote one in 2022, wrote one in 2023. Haven't written one since 2023, so we're back.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, man. The 2023 one was awesome that you did. But let's kind of jump into it, right? There's a lot to talk about in Brown's world about what's going on. A lot of it has to do with the future of the team as they're in that awkward part of the rebuild where it's like they're not trying to suck completely, but they aren't going to make the playoffs more than likely, right? Like it would be ahead of schedule if they won more than 8 games this year. Part of the reason why they're at this awkward part of the rebuild is because, as much as they had a good draft last year, they got some good players last year, they don't have a quarterback solution that they can commit to as of right now. Right. When you look at this quarterback room, I've heard it from a lot of corners on the internet because my opinions of this room are not very optimistic. Right. When you look at this quarterback room, one, do you think that the 3 quarterbacks here are going to be enough to get the Browns through 17 games? Because I think that element of it, right, relying on a Deshaun Watson to potentially play games this year, who the last time we saw was barely better than Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's the backup quarterback of the Orlando Storm. I worry that we're underestimating just how bad it is and that Deshaun Watson can look. And I can't believe we're sitting here in year 5 of Deshaun Watson, and we're still underestimating just how bad it can be and overestimating what some small factors, like I heard Mary Kay talk about, he lost weight, he got healthy. I'm like, yeah, because losing 10 pounds and missing 700 days of football is exactly what Deshaun Watson, he looked pretty thin when he came back in 2022. Right. So I don't know. Am I too pessimistic about this quarterback room, or do you think that this room as it stands right now is not built to last 18 weeks in the NFL season?
I mean, I would be shocked if there isn't another name in this room by the time we get to training camp. Hopefully off-season stuff. Maybe in a couple weeks we might see something like draft day. I don't know. Drafting a quarterback, I don't know if I would do that this year because it's pretty written on the wall that that's going to be the case. That's going to happen next year, right? Mm-hmm. But you never know. That they could come out and draft a guy and just say what the heck happens this year. This quarterback room will get them through the year. I don't know exactly to what level of success. I think there's going to be a third name in there. You never know. Shedeur could develop. What we saw from Shedeur as a rookie was kind of beyond rookie mistakes as well. Kind of some stuff where he got bailed out too. Like the Steelers game, the touchdown to Fannin was an absolute egg that Kyle Duggar just misread and stuff. So not only was the turnover ratio bad, but it should have been worse. You never know. Things could turn around, but on paper and based off of the evidence we have on tape from these guys, I'm not overly optimistic about this room either.
Yeah. I worry we watch. My big thing with Sanders, and we can move on to 2027, is he made mistakes that you were able to keep him on the field because the games didn't matter anymore. Right?
Right.
Multiple fourth quarter interceptions where you're up by 3 and he just throws like a chicken chalupa, shout out JP, just in the middle of the field for free, buy one, get one special. There was a couple of sacks he took where it's like, well, now we're not in field goal range. We can't even extend the lead anymore. Like just small stuff like that like when I bitch about it and it's the end of the season, people tell me it's rookie, get over it. It's not that big of a deal. When it's week 2 or 3, that gets people benched, right? Like, I mean, that's the stuff that got Joe Flacco benched, right? The untimely interceptions, stuff like that. And I do wonder, it's like, okay, if they have to, like, let's say worst case scenario pops off, they give Shador the job, and then 6 weeks into the season, they have to bench him. It's like, well, how long is Dylan going to last out there in this offense? It doesn't seem very long. Is Deshaun going to be at a place where he's going to be able to play 4 or 5 games? I highly doubt it, right? Like I don't even want to count on him to be the emergency 3rd string quarterback in a perfect world.
Right.
Let alone like maybe your backup or the guy you go to next. And I think we got like 12 weeks of quarterback play, worst case scenario, right? I think that we could be at week 12 and we're trying to trade for Mitchell Trubisky, or we're signing somebody off the practice squad to play, or we're basically doing what we did with Joe Flacco in 2023 without the success, right? Like that's my worst case scenario. That I'm like, hey, one more quarterback in the room that we're not booing in the stadium might just avoid that, right? Might stop us from having to bring in Tyrod Taylor or something like that.
Right.
Or you could bring in Tyrod Taylor, right? At least he would know the offense if you brought him in now. But hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. Knowing that that's the situation for 2026, and you've mentioned that it looks like the Browns are gearing up for 2027, and people are wondering if the Browns are going to draft a quarterback here. I'm of the mindset this is just the year where you just clear off the debt at the quarterback position, just go into 2027 with no obligations whatsoever for the future. Is that what you think the Browns are on? Is that where you want them to be as well?
If it wasn't the pathway they're on, then they've got a hell of a trade in the chamber. What else is out there at this point? I legitimately, Barry has said he wants a young quarterback. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to draft one. That could mean we're going to go. Anthony Richardson doesn't really seem like in the cards. The quarterback that terrifies me that might be in the cards though is Will Levis.
Oh yeah, the Mayo man.
That low key terrifies me. But I think we could see a young quarterback being traded for and brought into this room as well to compete. But I just don't see the use of bringing in another young quarterback that is going to have some sort of long haul contract tie. Again, unless you think that guy can be the backup for the guy you're going to draft next year. And you don't think that the backup for the guy you're going to draft next year or the bridge starter for the guy you're going to draft next year is the guy in the room. I think ideally, if you are going to draft a quarterback first overall next year, do what every other reasonable franchise does and sign a veteran quarterback who has started a lot of NFL games for that young quarterback instead of a second-year quarterback you drafted in the 3rd round who also has never played football games. So I don't see the purpose of drafting a quarterback this year. This looks fun. This looks like it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, I think part of the reason they've been doing this whole we're going to try to get the backup quarterback on a rookie contract is just because of the Watson contract and the extreme cost that has had in the cash budget for quarterback, right? After this year, I think it's not until like 2028 that they're like relieved of most the cash burden of
Yeah.
Deshaun. I think it's 58 next year, even if they June 1st cut him, right? And then 33 the next year after that. So I do wonder if that's something that they're trying to do as a cost saving measure. But at this point, I'm just like, hey, let's just take the L. Let's have a slightly bigger quarterback budget, and let's just try to get out the hole at this point, right? Because it's too much trying to clever maneuvering out of this. Oh, we'll trade for Kenny Pickett. Oh, we'll try to like make this work out here. We'll get Dylan Gabriel and make him the backup, and then fire the coach who wanted him. Like it's too much. It's too much.
It's a lot.
It's too many reverses on 4th and inches, right? Like it's just run that shit up the middle and do what everybody expects you to do, and just try to get the first down when it comes to this quarterback room. But let's talk about 2027 because this quarterback class has been hyped a lot, right? I think part of it is there is the institution of a Manning available, right? Like that is a institution amongst NFL circles. It got Daniel Jones unlimited chances in the NFL as far as like where he got drafted, what kind of contracts he's seen throughout his career. His connection to the Manning family has played a big role in that. I mean, like he's literally the quarterback for the Colts right now, right? Like it's not a coinky dink, right? It's his relationship with the Giants and who had the relationship with them. Like the Manning family carries a lot of clout within NFL circles.
Yeah.
Which means to me, as long as Arch Manning isn't a disaster this year, he's going number 1 overall. Like whether people will make the determination of his play deserves it or not, it's going to be hard to convince the ownership class that the Manning is not the guy going number 1 overall. You know, unless somebody is just straight up undeniable. And I think it has to be more in a way of like, not only are they great, but they have to be prototypically excellent, like 6'6".
Yeah.
They have to be Josh Allen with like better college experience in order to kind of beat him out for that number 1 spot. When you look at this class, like how do you evaluate Arch Manning knowing that the noise exists for that reason, but there's still a player to evaluate there that's not bad.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the class around it, where, you know, you have Dante Moore, who feels like pretty safe bet to be in that conversation. But then you have like Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway, Aiden Childs, like guys you're like, I don't know, like guys who are probably like people would mock in the 5th round right now that could jump all the way up to the 1st round as the season goes on.
Yeah, so the thing with Manning is he legitimately did play a lot better down the stretch. Like to the point where it's like if he played like this at the beginning of the season, we'd be having conversations about him maybe right now in this year's draft class. But so you got to kind of set the expectation like the tape is actually good. He's not just now coasting off the reputation that he's a Manning like he did last season, coming into the season as people's QB1 based off of like 2 games against G5 opponents and and then a start against Mississippi State and very sparing playing time elsewhere. It's like, no, we have a full body of work, and like the back half is like the Texas A&M game. The second half of that game, he legitimately puts the Longhorns on his back to like wield them to victory in that game. So there's some really good tape on Arch. I do think that like I was probably one of the first people to be like, we got to push the brakes on this Arch thing. Last summer, it was like he's barely played any football. I understand why we're talking about him. This year, again, I'm so still wrapped up in this class that I haven't charted this class. I haven't, except for the guys that I'm carrying over, right? But like, so I need to go back and chart these guys and evaluate these guys. But the hype is real this year for Arch as long as he stays healthy and continues to develop in the linear direction that he did this past year.
Mm-hmm. When we look at the rest of this quarterback class, right? Let's say there's a lot of conversation with if the Browns get like the top 5 pick, right? Let's live in a world where the Browns don't get a top 5 pick. Who are the quarterbacks you think could the Browns have access to if they only have access to picks outside the top 5, whether they're picking 8th next year or they're at 12 and they need to trade up to go and get a quarterback? Like, who are the guys in that range? Who you guys did you think could be in that range prospect-wise for the Browns? Because I think if you're really like dead set on getting a quarterback at 27, you got to make sure that the top of the card, that's fine, but I don't know if the Browns are going to be shitty enough to be at the top of the card. Maybe they'll be shitty enough. Like you never bet against the Browns being bad, right? But even last year, right? Like they were about as miserable to watch on offense as you've ever seen, and they still found a way to squeak out 5 wins. Realistically, should have squeaked out like 2 more at the end of the season too, 3 more. I think they should have probably beat Baltimore if they got better quarterback play than what Shador did in relief in that game. Mm-hmm. Buffalo, and then the Tennessee game. They probably should have won that Tennessee game as well. So it's like, I don't know if they're going to be that bad to get that top 3 pick, but do you think the mid card of this class is going to be strong enough that a team like Cleveland, who might not be at the top of the draft, could still have some real viable quarterback, options there?
Yeah, so we always do the thing where it's like next year's class is better, right? And the theory of next year's class is always the case. Again, I was a huge Dante Moore guy this year. I, even as a big Dante Moore guy, understand that he needs to perform better in bigger games, in the bigger games that he plays. He's also 206 pounds at 6'3", so and he was only 19. There's some body development that needs to happen with Dante Moore as well. But Dante Moore is silky smooth. He's got the pocket presence. He's got the arm. He's got the accuracy. For me to be like Dante Moore could be a guy that I would want on my football team. I would have taken him this year on my football team, to be completely honest. From there, man, I'm going to just go out here and say it's a shot in the dark the rest of the way out. So, yes, there are always going to be guys with tools, but like we are starting to have conversations about young guys already as like this guy is a top 10 pick. That it's like, I've seen some tape, and that's not what I've seen. I think a key example of that is like C.J. Carr out of Notre Dame. Like, he's Lloyd Carr's grandson. Like, they're already like stamping this legacy gold star on him. And it's like, I've seen that dude run around in a pocket for 4 seconds and then throw the ugliest interception you've ever seen in your life. Mm-hmm. So like, there's still a lot of like growth and development that needs to happen. But that's also to say like we are going to get 1 more year of tape on all these guys. I am always more on the side of like, let's pump the brakes over the summer and let's see what happens. Let's see how this plays out. There's some guys who went back to school too that I just like am not on board with. Jaden Mayava, I don't see the physical tools there to be a solid NFL quarterback. I think that's like a backup tier guy.
Yeah.
Julian Sayin, the Ohio State kid as well, is like 6'1", 208 pounds soaking wet. Doesn't fill out his pads. Has the physical tools of like a Mac Jones without the frame of Mac Jones. So like, it's like if you gave Mac Jones if you gave Julian Sayin super soldier serum, you'd get Mac Jones. So like, the tools aren't there for me to buy in there either. Obviously, Lenore Sellers is always going to be tantalizing. He's 6'3", 240 pounds, looks like a linebacker, throws the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour. Can we finally see a step in the right direction? I think is something there. And we get into the tier of quarterbacks that I have my own like tier or like bin that I label quarterbacks as fun dip snorters. Mm-hmm. And it's the guys who just have like zero pocket presence, just want to run around back there and then wait for someone to come open and make a throw. Those are not my type of quarterbacks either. Like that to me would be like Sam Levitt, John Mateer, Brennan Sorsby a little bit. Those guys are all kind of like fun dip snorters that I won't buy in on in the summer. Trinidad Chambliss is an interesting one, but ultimately I think that like we got out over our skis on him a little bit at the end of the year in a class that was like at that point just Fernando Mendoza. Ultimately, I think he's probably a mid-round option as well. So at the top, I think we can talk about Arch. I think we can talk about Dante Moore. I honestly think beyond that, everything is a complete projection still.
Yeah, that's what makes me nervous. It's like we end up putting all our chips into this 2027 class. That's what everybody wants to do right now. But it's like we get to 2027 and we're like, well, the first 2 picks are decided, and who are we going to go with? And it's like we're having the same conversation that we're having right now about Garrett Nussmeier, about Julian Sayin, who probably not going to come out. Yeah, right. Like he would be a junior this year, this upcoming season. He's still
Julian Sayin is a redshirt sophomore. He could come out if he wanted to, but I would be shocked if a 6'1", 208 pound kid with his tools came out as a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, the one thing the Trinidad Chambliss thing taught me is like, okay, the money's getting way better than I think out there. It's the same thing with Dante Moore, where it's like, okay, you would assume like somebody looking at a top 5 selection would just go, but that's not what's happening anymore. A lot of these guys who are like especially if they're physically on that kind of like shaky ground of like they're not the biggest NFL prototype guys.
Go back to school.
They're going back to school, like and even people might get their hopes up about Julian, saying I'm sure he's going to look great this year playing at Ohio State, throwing to Jeremiah Smith. To most people, but it's like, well, he probably gonna go back to school because that's probably where the more money is for him. And then we end up in the same where we're like, oh, well, now we got to trade for 2028, and it's like the Browns don't have that kind of time. Like they really don't have this year to be messing around at quarterback. Ideally, they would have did something like that's why they tried to trade for, allegedly tried to trade for Cam Ward last year, right? Like. They recognized this a year ago that, hey, we got to get something going at the quarterback position. Do you think that there might be some, quarterbacks who are in the league right now who could become options for the Cleveland Browns? Because I think if you're looking at where the Browns are going to have to be looking at quarterback and where they're going to have to shop for quarterback, it's usually like this or like, oh, Jared Goff's available. Like, kind of options available to you because I don't think they could kick this can down past 2027. I think where we are right now is a stretch already, Like they got to do something now or else like it's going to fall apart. You're going to have to trade Miles. You're going to have to fire everybody. Jimmy's in charge again, I can't hear you.
Yeah, my bad. Scrolling through the list here, man, are you interested in a reunion with Baker Mayfield at all beyond the 2026 season here?
It
in the
depends
league
on
now,
what our options are, to be honest. Like, if our options are that Marcus Mariota or like trying to get like quarterback 6 in a draft, reunite him with Todd Monk and see if that works out. I don't know. Like, you got to do something.
I guess the long story short here is like, not really. Yeah. I mean, you could look to Atlanta and say like they could take the loser of the Tua Michael Penix quarterback battle and whatever quarterback they decide to do in the future there, take the opposite one. JJ McCarthy, you don't feel good about any of these options. I guess if like CJ Stroud bottoms out in Houston again this year, they could realistically trade him. But they just picked up his 5th-year option, so that's fully guaranteed. So like, not a lot of options. Bryce Young, like the options you could talk yourself like, oh, they could become available, aren't like they could become available for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, like that, you're definitely doing some discount shopping, right? Like you're not gonna. There's no like magical mythical Joe Burrow that's just gonna fall into your lap here. But I think that's the reality. I think Browns fans have to kind of accept. Which is either in the draft or free agency or wherever they're looking, they're going to have to find some imperfect solution that can work for them, right? Like that's where we're headed towards, right? We've missed the opportunity to get our just like draft the quarterback, right? Like the last 2 years where we would have been bad enough to get one. We didn't have the number 1 overall pick last year. I debate whether Cam Ward is worth that number 1 overall pick, but I'll let time finish that debate for me, whether I'm right or wrong on that one. This year, I thought Mendoza would have been worth the number 1 overall pick, but that didn't happen with the Cleveland Browns. So it's like, okay, those 2 opportunities aren't there for you. You can't force a quarterback into the first round. So it's like, do you decide that you like Ty Simpson that much and then you commit to that? Like, it's like you're at the club and it's like, it's not 2:00 yet. But it's about 1:15. You know what I mean? And you haven't really had a full conversation with anybody yet. And you're starting to wonder, like, what's about to happen once these lights come on. And that's where the Browns are with quarterback. They got to figure out some kind of imperfect solution that can work for them. Because we're dreaming in the world of, oh, we're just going to suck and get Arch Manning. It's like, man, that competition is probably going to be pretty competitive. And if we're looking at this in that negative space of like, okay, who sucks enough for Arch? It's like, yeah, our quarterback situation's terrible, but we're probably gonna get better on defense. We're probably gonna be better on offense just by virtue of having a better run game because we invested in offensive line. So like, we're not a good competitor to suck enough to get the first 2 picks.
Yeah.
And like, you look at the situation everybody's in, the Browns can't afford to stink out and think that people are going to keep their jobs. Todd Monken has a shitty season this year. He's fired. Like you've heard Jimmy Haslam talk. He's like, I expect to win more games. That means if you don't win more than 5 games, you're fired. Right? Like if the offense doesn't improve, that doesn't result in wins, then everybody's gone. So you can't lose out if you want to have any kind of continuity. And continuity is probably what you need to have, because right now, at least there's some separation between Jimmy Haslam and football ops. If there's no separation, we know what that turns into. So it's like that option, I don't really think it's available to him. So you gotta figure out something imperfect, and I think that's going to be the challenge for the fan base and for the team. Is okay, how do we cope with the fact that whatever we go with, it's probably not going to be anybody's first choice, but you just got to hope that it works out. You know, when you trade for Jalen Hurts or something like that, like it's not going to be something that everybody's going to be like, oh fuck yeah, let's do that. Like that, we aren't there. We're gonna have to pivot to something else. It's going to make you a little bit nervous, and it's going to have a lot of flaws in it. And that's what quarterback, the future of course, like Baker Mayfield coming back. It's like some people will be excited about that, but other people will be like, oh man, that sounds like a fucking bad idea. Like, it's along that lines. And that's kind of the corner that they've kind of been drawn into, partly because of the whole Watson thing not working out, but also because I think they kind of waited too long to call time of death on this, right? I think once he destroyed his throwing shoulder in 2023, it's like, all right, we got to plan for the future after that, right? Like you got to start trying to do it. They tried to with DTR, but it's like, you got to do more than that, right? Like you got to be serious about it. And similar to the offensive line thing where they waited too long and it collapsed. This quarterback thing is one where it's like, I get it. You bet on Watson, but once that throwing shoulder got destroyed, man, we should have known which direction this was probably going to go.
Yeah, agreed. I don't have the recipe how to get out of this. I don't know if they have the recipe how to get out of this, but the worst thing that they could do though is fire Barry and then give Monken a second year. Like if you fire the GM, you gotta hire the pair again. So yeah, I think you're right that Monken could be a one and done if they blow this thing up. So yeah,
if they suck this year, I don't see him staying. Like, and also like we're in the honeymoon phase with Monken, so like I try not to say this stuff because it pisses people off, and it's early to say it. But we know that Monken doesn't have the greatest like reputation amongst people working with him sometimes. Like he tends to piss people off because of like how he goes about business at times. Like this was around with Freddie Kitchens, right? With the whole, they ain't my offense thing, right? Like, shit goes bad, right? Like we're loving how he is in press conferences now, but that's not going to be how it's going to be if we're 0-4 at the beginning of the season, right? Like he has a thing about him that like partly what got Harbaugh fired in Baltimore was that ownership wanted to get rid of Monken, right? Like, and it's not to say that like the ownership knew what they're doing, but there's something about him that like when things don't go great, people tend to point to him and say he's got to go. Right. Now, hopefully things go well and people don't have to do that. But that's kind of been one of the things with Monken that's followed him throughout his career. So, yeah, there's high one and done potential here with him. I would hope that they could win more games because they're just going to be more competent offensively. And honest to God, that could have probably got the Browns to like fighting for the division last year if it would have happened. But that's kind of the rough spot they're in. And like you said, there's really no playbook, no magic kind of like fix here for the Browns. Whatever they do, they're going to have to manufacture it, whether it be a trade, whether it be a prospect that they really believe in and they develop. They're going to have to pull a Bo Nix out of their ass, right? Like, it's like, oh man, nobody thinks this guy should go 12. Like, and they develop him into something where you're like, okay, I guess that was reasonable enough. That's kind of where they're at. Imperfect solutions. But they got to accept that that's where they're at. And I don't know if they're at that point. Yeah. We're going to talk more with Corey Kinnan as the week goes on.